Hey guys, it's me, Desi Arnaz, professional investor, and I am just here today because we are excited to have our Tuesday evening show for you guys. It is the Note Investing for Newbies broadcast, and I'm excited to be bringing you guys another episode of Note Investing for Newbies, because this is a place where you can learn how to create financial independence for yourself through cash flow. Cash flow is what gives us financial independence, right? It's not how much money you have in the bank. That's not what makes you financially free. It's how much cash flow that you have access to each coming into you each and every month. And so if you learn how to build that cash flow, you can retire anytime. People say, hey, when I get older and I retire, well, retirement is not an age, it's an amount of cash flow. The reason that people work is to create cash flow. That's why you have a job, so you can create cash flow into your life. And when most people retire from their jobs, their cash flow is drastically reduced, right? That's very typical. And so what I try to talk to people about is start planning before that time, right? Start creating passive income, passive cash flow into your life so that you can retire anytime. You don't have to wait until you're 65 years old or 70 years old. And you certainly won't find yourself 70 years old working at, Walmart or Burger King or McDonald's. Obviously, we see those 70-year-olds working at these locations. And believe me when I tell you, that was not part of their plan. That wasn't what it was about at all. So if you can learn about investing in mortgage notes, it's going to make all the difference for you. So I'm glad you guys are here. So who's here today? Check in with me here through the chat. Let me see who we got on with us today. I'm excited to be bringing you guys this broadcast, the Note Investing for Newbies broadcast. If you just joined us today, I will be talking about where to find mortgage notes. That's what I'm going to be looking at today, how to source mortgage notes, where you're going to find these notes. If you're going to be buying and investing in these notes, you need to know where to find them. And so we're going to be talking about that today. Let's see, here we go. And I've got some pretty good sources for you. Some of the sources that I use, and certainly some of the sources that are used by professionals that are in this space. And so I'll be sharing with you guys the sources that we use in the business to find mortgage notes, because that's one of the big questions people are always asking me. Now, since this is the Note Investing for Newbies show, I'm going to take a couple minutes just to make sure that everybody on here understands what a note is, and because I never know. We never know. I see we got Diana on with us today. She says, hi, Diana here. Hey, Diana, welcome. Glad you're here. Totally glad to see you here. Look at this one here. Hola from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Anthony, hello, Anthony. Hola to you too, my friend. All right, glad to see you guys here today. Ashley, new to your channel. Well, cool, Ashley. Ashley Houston, nice to meet you. Is Whitney your sister? Just curious. All right, Ashley, glad you're here. And then we've got, I had you already on here, Ashley. Very good, guys. I'm glad you guys are all here, and I'm glad thank you so much for checking in with me. Let me find out, is there anyone on here who's never purchased a note, who doesn't really know what note investing is? Hit me up in the chat and let me know. I was just trying to get a feel for those of you that are here. I know that a couple of you on here I know have purchased notes, but if someone on here hasn't purchased a note yet or still learning, still considering it, hit me up in the chat, let me know. Okay, and that'll kind of give me some direction on where I need to go with my presentation today too. Also, during when I'm talking to you guys about the sources that I use, I am monitoring the chat to the best of my ability. So, if you got a question or something, feel free to stick it into the chat. I'll see if I can answer it, because if you have a question, it's pretty likely that someone else has a very same question. All right. So, cool. All right. So let me just do this. I'm going to tell you guys what a note is. First of all, a note, whether it's a mortgage note like the ones that we invest in, or just a regular promissory note, or even a Federal Reserve note. If you look at your money, right on your money, it actually says at the top, Federal Reserve note, right? And that's because a note is basically a written promise to pay. It's an IOU. It's a written promise to pay. And so if someone signs an IOU to you, then they've given you a note. And think about this. When you just sign a check and you give it to someone, isn't that really a note that they can take to your bank and exchange it for cash, right? They can exchange it for cash. And if they don't have a bank account, they can actually sell that note to like a currency exchange, right? Where maybe if you wrote them a check for $100, they could take that check, that quote, that note to a currency exchange, and maybe that currency exchange is going to give them $95, and they're going to keep $5 as their quote fee. Basically, what that currency exchange just did is they bought that note at a discount. They got a 5% discount in that example. And that's what we do. We buy mortgage notes, meaning that the notes that we buy are promissory notes that people have signed to a bank saying, I will pay you back. If you lend me money to buy this house, I will pay you back. Notes that we buy, guys. And then we have a second document with the note, and that's called a mortgage. And the mortgage All right. Maybe I'm back now. I lost all you guys for a minute, and I'm not really sure exactly what happened, but if you can see me, please hit me up in the chat again. Let me know that I'm here. All right. I do appreciate that. All right. So hopefully I'm back, guys. I'll hit me up in the chat. Let me know that you can hear me again. Somehow the technology failed me for about 60 seconds. All right. But I am monitoring the chat. So I'm going to move on, assuming I haven't seen anybody hit me up in the chat yet to let me know that we're back. Okay, good. Good. Anthony says, we can hear you again. Hee-hee. I like it when things work out. All right. So as I was saying before, all right, thank you very much, Anthony. Ashley, yes, you're there. There you go again. Thank you both. As I was saying before, when you're investing in mortgage notes, as a note investor, you are the bank for that borrower, for the homeowner, which is a great place to be because you get cash flow from the real estate, but you don't actually own the real estate. And so you get to get paid by those homeowners every single month. But if something breaks in the house, if something falls apart, they need a new roof, new furnace, you are not responsible for that. Okay. So that's the beauty of it. And so that's what I love about investing in mortgage notes. All right. So let me share with you guys where you can buy some mortgage notes right now. Now, obviously there's lots of places that you can buy. So I'll just share with you guys what I think are some of the best places to look for investing in mortgage notes. First of all, though, I want you guys to understand this. Mortgage notes, literally, you can find them all over the place. They're everywhere. Okay. They're everywhere. The business of mortgage note investing and note trading is about 10 times larger than the real estate business. I mean, that's pretty big because there's a lot of houses being bought and sold every single year, a lot. And I'm estimating about 10 times that much happens on the note side. And the reason that I say that is because if you think about it, typical house, right? Most people sell their house between they live in their home for between 5 and 10 years, right? Then they sell it or something like that. But a mortgage gets sold during that same 5 or 10 year period. A mortgage might get sold 3 times, easily 3 times in a 10-year period. And so, and also, one home can have 2 mortgages or 3 mortgages or 4 mortgages on it. And all those mortgages could be traded in the secondary mortgage market. That's what we call it, where mortgages are traded, the secondary mortgage market. A little bit of education for you guys right there. So it's a really huge market. There's a lot of inventory that's out there. Most of that inventory runs through several giant banks like Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and also through several really giant quasi-government organizations, right? Like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and FHA. Right? A lot of those mortgages run through those channels. But the big thing that I want you to understand is this: there's a lot of opportunity. Okay. Now here's something here. I know people that have started off with mortgage notes and then have expanded their businesses so that they don't just invest in mortgage notes, they invest in other types of, quote, paper assets, other types of paper assets. For example, they might invest in real estate paper. Well, that's what we do. But they also might invest in car paper, furniture paper, medical paper, right? People that buy this stuff invest in all kinds of paper. I even heard of a guy who bought funeral lots, paper that's held on funeral lots. So people are making payments on their burial plot, right? A lot of people do that in America. They will finance their burial plot and they're making payments every month. And I heard of a guy that purchased that paper, right? And so you have a lot of opportunity. Of course, we've all seen those TV commercials, J.G. Wentworth, right? It's me and I want it now. Yeah, those guys are in the note buying business. They buy cash flows. They might buy your lottery winnings, or if you have a judgment that you won in court and you're entitled to receive some money, if you got an inheritance coming, those guys will buy that kind of paper. So what I'm talking about today, you can invest and you can do all kinds of deals, not just what I'm going to be sharing with you guys today, but I'll be sharing with you where to find real estate note paper. But you can think outside the box, okay? That's the message I really want to get through to you. Think outside the box because there's a lot of opportunity that's out there. Now, is anybody on here today already going through some training on, just investing in notes, or or some of you guys brand new and haven't even started training yet? Hit me up in the chat. Let me know if you're a brand new newbie or if you've got some training under your belt. Here are some popular sources for finding mortgage notes. You can take a picture of the screen if you'd like, but community banks, right? A lot of these gurus, if you go to them and you retain them to teach you the note business, they'll have you calling banks. And I certainly started off that way. I called community banks, and I was able to make some relationships and actually have some of the banks send me inventory to take a look at, notes to take a look at. And I liked it. It was pretty cool to be able to see what the banks had. I remember they sent me a motel in just outside, right across the river or the bay from San Francisco. There's another town. You go across the bridge. I can't remember the name of the town, but that's where this one was. As a matter of fact, when you came off the bridge, it was about a quarter mile down. Anybody know what the name of that other city is there that's by San Francisco? I'm just drawing a blank. But yeah, they had sent me a motel that was right there that it was vacant, but they held the mortgage on it and they wanted to sell the paper on that mortgage, sell the paper on that motel. I wasn't interested in it, and I was so new in the business, there was no way that I was going to be there's no way I was going to be trying to buy a motel paper. Let's see here. Someone says Golden State. Oh, this is a Lean Property Solutions, huh? This is a business. No, I was just trying to remember the name of that city that's on the other side. City, that's okay. Doesn't really matter. You can buy mortgage notes from hedge funds. Like I manage a fund. I am a fund manager. Yeah, Oakland, Gary. There you go. Gary, there you go. Thank you so much. A truck driver would know, right? Oakland, that's where this place was. Yeah, I appreciate that, Gary. But I'm a fund manager, and I do sell notes to people that want to buy notes. And so, I'm a source for you guys notes through my fund. If you're doing that, anybody out there to find these notes all over the internet, and I'm going to share with you some ideas for that. There's some online exchanges, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. Note brokers, note dealers, real estate investors. I buy a lot of stuff from real estate investors, and then professionals like paper. It's not unusual for the estate to the attorney to want to sell that paper because the heirs want to sell the paper. And so those are all sources that we're going to take a look at today. All right. Oakland. Why couldn't I remember Oakland? Oh, well, I got it now. So let me just share with you guys the next one here, my next slide. All right, so let's start with community banks. Here are the pros and cons that I think for community banks. One of the pros is that you get to deal directly with the principal. You're not dealing with some third party. That's a cool thing, by the way. Anytime you can deal directly with the principal, the owner of the note, you're far better off than working through a middleman, okay? And so that's one of the benefits of going directly to the banks, because the banks own the notes that they are selling you. They tend to be profitable if you can make the deal work, right? Because a lot of these banks, they've already made their profit. If they've been collecting interest on this note for 10 or 12 years, and now they're selling the note, they've already made a ton of money. And so they just want to get it off their books. Sometimes also the banks are forced to get things off their books in order to meet their legal reserve requirements. And so you can get some pretty good deals in some cases by buying directly from the banks. There's low competition, and the reason that there's low competition is because most people just are too intimidated to call the banks. And then your professional investors that are out there, they're not intimidated. They have so many other sources that they don't need to call the banks. It's usually newer people that are calling the banks until they get burned out. Then they stop calling banks. That was me. And there's also repeat business. See, once you have a relationship with a bank or an institution like that, as they get more notes, they'll call you up. They'll send you an email and say, hey, we've got some more inventory. Are you interested? So those are some pros. Some cons is that they require work, and you've got to develop a relationship with these banks. Because if you think about it from the bank's perspective, when you buy a note from the bank, they are going to provide you with a lot of personal information on the borrower. They're going to give you a copy of the borrower's loan application. They're going to give you a copy of the documents that they collected when they lent the money. For example, if you've ever taken out a mortgage, you got to give a copy of your driver's license, your social security card. You got to give them your bank statements. You got to give them, your tax returns, your pay stubs. All that sensitive information is owned by the bank. And if the bank sells you that mortgage note, then you get all that sensitive information. The bank needs to feel confident that you're not some scam artist. Who are you? You're calling them up out of the blue and you're saying, hey, sell me a mortgage note. And they're going, I don't think so. We need to establish a relationship. And then they need to vet you to make sure that you are someone that they are willing to do business with. And once you've gone through that process, then they'll start sending you stuff. And that's why I said it takes work and it requires discipline in order to stay in that field. Hedge funds, guys. Like I said, I'm a fund manager. And yes, I do sell notes. I sell them off one at a time. I sell them off multiple at a time. Doesn't matter to me, however you want to buy them. But hedge funds all around the country. My very first note purchase was from a hedge fund. We purchased 5 assets from them. They wanted to sell me 5 notes, but I only purchased 3 notes. And then I also purchased 2 houses from them. And the reason that I purchased the houses is because I was so new in the note space. I just wasn't confident that notes were the right thing. But I knew that with the houses, at least I could make some money because I was a real estate broker and I understood houses. And so I bought a combination. I bought some notes and some houses from this bank. And I was able to pick up 5 of them in one purchase. And I had a partner on that as well. So that's the way that you work with hedge funds. You deal directly with the owners, the principals, which is good. They tend to be profitable because these hedge funds do sell at deep discounts. There's some competition there, though. There certainly is more competition there than there is with banks, because people, once they kind of get it, they realize it's a little bit easier to deal with the hedge fund than it is to deal with a bank, right? With a bank, it's tougher to find the person to talk to that can make the decision. And a lot of people are just intimidated talking to bank presidents and bank vice presidents. Okay? But again, this requires work and it requires some discipline. So, but if you're willing to put in the work, hedge funds can be a very good source. Now, another source is note holders. There are people out there that already own notes. And when they own a note, they actually record that information in the county where the property is located. So think about that for a second. And by the way, all that information is public record. So if you know the county where the property is located, you can literally go to the county records. And these days, most of the counties are online. So you can go to their website, go to the county recorder's website or the county recorder's page on the website, and you can do a search for mortgages that are privately owned. Now, they don't list them that way, but when you look down the list of all of the lenders, what you'll see is you'll see Bank of America, Wells Fargo, then you'll see Michael Jones, right? Or you'll see, Quest IRA for the benefit of Michael Jones or something like that. Now, that's a private individual. That's not a bank, right? So that gives you a heads up. And then if you're looking on the website at the county and you decide that you want to pursue that, then you can write down the information that's there, because usually you're going to get some information. Maybe their address is there. It's usually there. Sometimes, in the rare cases, there's even a phone number, because some counties collect phone numbers too. Sometimes, again, in a rare occasion, there might be an email address. But worst case is you have an address that you can mail to, and you can send a letter to these people or a postcard saying, hey, I see that you own a mortgage. Are you interested in selling that mortgage? And you'll be surprised. I have purchased plenty that way. As a matter of fact, I have a piece of real estate in Florida right now that I picked up as a result of that type of a mailer. I see over here in the chat, someone's asking, Ashley, do you have any training courses? Yes, we do, Ashley. We do. You can go to noteinvestoruniversity.com, and we have training there. I have some free training there, and I also have some paid training, depending on how far you want to go with it, right? The more you want to learn, we can teach you all the way to the point that you can do what I do, and that is you can literally become wealthy like I have by investing in mortgage notes and learning how to do that using other people's money. So you can do that. I did it, and I teach other people how to do it. You can do it too. So thank you for that question. I do appreciate that. So let me get back to this. Okay. So you can go to note holders. You can find them, as I said, at the county recorder's office. You can also find them on some places like Craigslist. Sometimes people just put it up that they have a note for sale. And these are just individuals. These are not banks or hedge funds. They're just folks, right? Maybe somebody inherited a house after mom and dad died, and there's a note on it, and they say, I don't know what to do. So they literally just run an ad on Craigslist or some place like that, or a Facebook ad saying, hey, I have a note for sale. You also find them on LinkedIn people post that they have notes for sale. Certainly Facebook people post that they have notes for sale. Usually it's being posted inside a Facebook group. So you can look at those sources, guys, and you'll find people that are selling notes. Now, of course, you don't, if you're brand new, you probably don't know how to vet the note to make sure you're getting a good note. But that's, of course, where training comes in. So I'm just sharing today where to find them, and you got to go from there, right? And determine what's right for you. There's not very much competition in that space because it does require work. You know, you've got to go to the county recorder's website, or you got to kind of troll through Facebook and, you know, Craigslist and all that stuff. You got to troll through that stuff, and that turns a lot of people off, or they just get lazy and they stop doing it. But for those people who continue to do it and make it a habit, they do well, okay, in that space. I just wanted to share that with you, okay? One of the other things you can do with private note holders, and I do this often, is you can help them create the note. Once you understand how this space works and what a good note looks like, then you can literally talk to someone who's maybe a landlord who is selling his property, and he would like to sell it to a relative or a friend, but he doesn't know how to draft the paperwork and how to structure the deal. So you could literally share with him how to structure the deal. And then you can let them know, after you've structured this deal, I will be happy to buy you out, because maybe you want to sell your brother your house. Your brother only has 10% to put down. You carry back paper for the other 90%, right? That's how that works. And then I'll buy that 90% so that you can get cash out and go away, and your brother can just pay me for the next 20 or 30 years. I mean, that's a conversation that you can have, and you can show them how to structure those deals. And I teach you guys how to do that if you want to learn it, right? So I put on here under one of the cons is that private sellers may require some training, some education. They don't know this stuff. As I just said, you know, sometimes you got to literally show them how to do it. So there's more work involved. But that's why there's very little competition, because most people don't want to work that hard and don't want to put in the effort. But for those of you that do, the rewards are great. Some of the very best notes that I've ever purchased have been privately held notes like that, okay? And I don't know why I got away from it. I'll probably get back to it here very soon, just reaching out. And there are thousands and thousands and thousands of them all over the country. Every county has tons of them. So you just got to go to the county websites and look them up, okay? I definitely will be getting back to that. It's just a good source. All right. Note brokers. Note brokers are another source. Now, what's a note broker? A note broker is a person who goes out and does all the things that I just finished saying. They'll go to the banks. They'll go to the hedge funds. They'll go to the county. They will find these notes, but they don't have any money to buy the notes themselves. So they find these notes. They're like bird dogs, right? They go out, they find them, and then they bring them to the person with the money. So if you have money to invest, you can reach out to note brokers and say, hey, I've got $30,000, $50,000, $150,000, whatever to invest, and I'm looking for a note. And note brokers will go out and find them for you, bring them to you to save you all that effort. Now, they're going to get a fee. So that's one of the drawbacks, but that's okay. I mean, everybody's got to get paid for the work that they do and the value they bring into the marketplace. But it will save you a lot of time. And but it does come with some drawbacks. Oftentimes when you're working with a note broker, you're not direct with the principal. The broker wants to protect their commission and make sure you don't, you know, cheat them out of their commission. And so a lot of times they will keep the owner of the note's information confidential and private. They won't share it with you. And they do all the communications through them. You'll ask something, they will check with the seller of the note, get back with you. I don't like that. And another problem with note brokers is sometimes a broker who's direct with the seller will cooperate with another broker. So now you got two brokers in the middle, each one expecting to earn a fee. And then sometimes that broker cooperates with another broker, and we'll have three. We call that a daisy chain, right? Some people call them joker brokers, because the only one that really should be getting any money is the person who's direct with the seller. But yet all these brokers in this daisy chain expect to be paid because they know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy who knows a note owner. and so they're all in there. And so the price of your notes can go up, your profits can go down. Those are some of the drawbacks of dealing with a note broker. But, it's a source. Okay, not my first choice, although we do buy from some brokers. There are some really professional brokers that have been in the business for decades, literally decades, and they have strong relationships with banks and hedge fund managers, and they deal directly with them. And I get a contract with them that allows me to deal directly with the sellers and these banks and institutions. And every time I do a deal with any of these institutions, the broker gets paid, even if he wasn't aware of it. If I do a deal, if a broker brings me introduces me to a banker or a hedge fund manager, and I do any business with that fund manager, even a year or 2 years from now, we still send the broker a commission check, thanking him once again, or her once again, for introducing us. So that's a source. Another source is note dealers. Now, a note dealer is different than a note broker in the one primary sense, actually several primary instances. The one big thing, though, is that note brokers sell notes that they don't own. A note dealer sells notes that they own. Like a car dealer, right? A car dealer goes to the manufacturer, buys a bunch of cars, put them on the lot, and then they sell those cars. A note dealer does the same thing. A note dealer will go to the hedge funds, they'll go to the banks, they'll go to their sources, they'll buy a bunch of notes, put them in on their lot, so to speak, and then they will sell those off to people that are interested in those. The beauty of buying from a note dealer is that you get fully vetted notes. What does that mean? They've already done all the due diligence, you see, because they bought them first. And if they bought a bad note, they won't be able to sell it. And so the note dealers will do the due diligence. They will get the title reports. They will get the broker price opinions, the appraisals. They will get all that stuff and check it all out before they buy it, because they want to be able to be sure they can resell it. And so you can get fully vetted notes by working with note dealers. And that's one of the big benefits. We have a dealership here that people can buy notes from us, right through us, right? Fully vetted notes. You don't have to sweat it. Of course, you want to do your own vetting too, but at least you know that it's been vetted. And one of the things that I like about having notes as a dealer is that if nobody buys my note, it's okay, because I'm collecting monthly payments, right? Unlike a car dealer, when a car dealer puts that car on the lot, he's paying money every month until that car sells. When I put a note on my quote lot, I'm collecting money every month until that note sells. So if it sells this month, that's fine. If it doesn't sell for another 6 months, that's fine. No big deal. It's really a cool business to be in. And so we need more note dealers. There aren't very many note dealers around the country. And if you want to learn how to do that, I'm happy to show you how we got our dealership set up and show you how you can set up an LLC and start a note dealership, and how to get the funding for the notes that you buy for your dealership. That's the kind of stuff I'm happy to share with you guys, the people that are a part of our university. Happy to, for those that want to know. Also, when you're dealing with a note dealer, because the dealer owns the notes, you're dealing directly with the note principal, right? You get good yields, good return on investments. And if you ever want to sell one of your notes, the note dealer just may buy it from you, right? I mean, that's what they do. They buy notes. They'll buy it from you, just like a car dealer will buy your used car from you, right? They'll buy your used car and then they'll resell it. Same thing here, guys. So that's another benefit of working with note dealers. But it's competitive, right? Because note dealers do have good notes, good inventory, vetted notes. There's more competition for those notes. And so depending on how they structure things, you could find yourself in a price war. We don't sell ours that way. We sell ours first come, first serve. But you could find yourself in a price war with some of the dealers that are out there, and they got you one guy bidding against another, and then wind up paying too much. That's not the way that I do business, but it certainly is out there. But as I said, there's just not that many dealers in the business. Literally, there's not that many. I can only think of just a few. Okay, and the best one, of course, is our dealership. All right. Now, real estate investors, I do buy, as I mentioned earlier, a lot from real estate investors, because what happens is a real estate investor, they'll go out, maybe like a property flipper, rehabber, they'll go out, buy an ugly house, needs a lot of work. Maybe they pay, I'll just make up some numbers. They pay $80,000 to buy an ugly house. And then they put another $25,000 or $20,000 in it. So now they're in it for $100,000. And then they turn around and sell it for $150,000 because they fixed the house up. Right? So they're going to make a $50,000 profit. That's nice. But when they sell it, one of the things that we talk to people, investors, about is, how about if you were to sell it with owner financing? Because if you sell it with owner financing, you'll sell it faster. You can sell it for more money too. Because if a person doesn't have to go to Wells Fargo, Bank of America, some big bank to borrow the money, if you will be their bank, they'll pay more for that. Right? They don't have to jump through all the hoops. You can also work with people that maybe don't quite qualify for bank loans, because you have to have 2 years on the job, and you got to have all these things. And maybe they've only been on the job for a year and a half, right? And so they can't get a bank loan. That kind of situation, those kinds of situations do arise. I remember as a real estate agent, I had a physician, a doctor. He had just finished whatever it is, medical school, and he was working, but he hadn't been practicing for 2 years. And I had a tough time getting him financed. And what finally happened is his father, who was also a doctor, just went ahead and paid cash for the house, and his father then financed him. And that's what I'm talking about. The seller of the property can finance the buyer of the property. And what I show investors, real estate investors, how to do is how to do that. And then I buy the paper from them. Okay. But one of the drawbacks is that you won't get as big of a discount, typically speaking. There's little seasoning. Sometimes there's no seasoning. Now, seasoning means how many payments have been made before you buy the note. See, because the payments that are made are what gives you comfort to know that the people will continue to make payments. So if a person has already been making their payments for 15 years, never missed a payment, that's very different than a person who's never even made their first payment yet. Or maybe they've only made one payment and you're buying the note. You don't know if they're going to make the second payment, right? Because they don't have a history yet. That's called seasoning. And so there's little to no seasoning when you do this. But if there's little to no seasoning, I look for other things, compensating factors. And so I'll talk about that kind of stuff in our trainings when we talk about how to structure these types of deals. You've typically got to educate these investors too. These real estate investors, they know real estate, but they don't know mortgages. They don't know paper. They don't know notes. So you have to do some education, and you're probably going to have to manage the transaction, because they don't even know what paperwork to use to transfer ownership of the note. Sometimes they don't even know what paperwork to use to set up the note. Okay. And so, yeah, but privately financed stuff is really good. And let's see here. Abe says, yeah, there's no hard money cost. Yes, when you do owner financing, there's no hard money cost. I remember the last house that I bought, I paid like $13,000 in closing costs, in addition to the down payment, right? $13,000 in closing costs, title, and all this other stuff. And when you are doing owner financing, a lot of those costs are waived, right? A lot of those costs are waived. Let me take that off the screen. All right. So that's another source. Let's take a look here. The next one that I'm going to share with you guys, another source for finding mortgage notes, is professionals. I alluded to this earlier. Professionals can help you find mortgage notes. People that work with people that have assets, that have money or other assets, they'll often know of people that have mortgage notes. And you'll be surprised how many people do have mortgage notes. I've been surprised, because I didn't know that much about it. I assumed really hardly anybody did. But there are plenty of people who have money that know about mortgage notes, right? If you have money, you're always looking for places to put your money, always, so that your money's working. And so those people, somewhere along the line, were led to mortgage notes. And that's how it works, right? Anthony says, lawyers, good source, absolutely a good source, right? Lawyers are a good source. Thank you, Tony. You're totally right about that. Lawyers are a good source for finding this stuff. And what I like are lawyers that help people with their estates. So, because it's usually upon death that notes get sold, by the estate. Because the guy who created the notes, more often than not, he likes the cash flow, especially if it's an older person. They like the cash flow coming in every month, like me. I'll be 69 years old in about 45 days or so. And I like the cash flow coming in. It's nice. It makes me sleep well, right? And I don't think you got to be old to appreciate cash flow, do you? Extra money just coming in every day in the mailbox. I have so many notes now that I've been able to purchase either on my own or also with some partners from time to time, that I can't keep up with what's coming in. So I hired a person to help me. And once or twice a week, we'll get together and she'll fill me in on how much money I brought in that week, And so it's kind of nice to be there. And you can be there too. And that's really what I wanted to share with you guys on that. You can be there too. But working with professionals, they're easy to find. They're happy to talk to you. There's very little competition because nobody else really reaches out to them. You can get good discounts because in a situation, especially when there's been a death or whatever, and the kids have inherited it, as opposed to they owned it or they purchased it themselves, they just want to get cash. They just want to get cashed out. And so you can usually get pretty good deals on those notes. The downsides, the cons of that is that, of course, is sporadic. So you can't just work with one or two professionals. You're going to have a network of professionals, maybe 25, 30 professionals that you have met and that you have networked with and that know that you buy mortgage notes. If you want to keep a consistent flow of mortgage notes, they need to know that that's what you do. And the way you get these people to know that is by doing, making sure that you put some systems in place for following up with these people. Because that's really the name of the game. I'll share that with you. But here's some options, right? Realtors, lawyers, CPAs, property managers, financial planners, homeowners association managers, tax preparers, loan officers, and bankers. Loan officers and bankers. So those are some places that you can look. So here's how we're going to wrap this up, guys. You need to make some decisions, right? Pick a source. Don't try to do everything that I just shared with you guys. Pick a source. Then you want to set up your tools and systems, which right now I know that may sound a little bit intimidating, but don't let it be intimidating. It can be as simple as a notepad or a little 3-ring binder where you write down people's names and numbers and you call them periodically, but set up your tools and systems. And then you want to create what I call a touch campaign, where you reach out to these people periodically and say, hey, I just want to remind you, I buy notes. You got anything? Right? That's a touch campaign. Most people don't follow up. And then you want to launch your campaign. So here's what I want you to understand. The fortune is in the follow-up. Follow-up is one of my strengths. It had to be, because when I was a real estate agent, which I was from 1980, right? I'm still a broker today. I would reach out to a person who says, yeah, I want to sell my house, but I'm not moving for another 3 years. Well, guess what? 3 years from now, they're not going to remember me unless I've done something to make sure that they do. And that's called following up. And so I've learned how to develop little systems. It doesn't have to be elaborate. It just has to be consistent. And so I developed little follow-up systems. Maybe I send a postcard every 90 days or something like that, or every 6 months. They're saying, hey, just want to remind you, I'm your real estate agent, right? That kind of thing. And so you do that kind of stuff, and then do the same thing here. If you're dealing with a community bank, a hedge fund manager, right? Some note holder who says, nah, I'm not going to sell my note right now, but you got their name and address. Why not keep them in your database and follow up with them again in the future, right? I didn't talk too much about online exchanges, but basically there's some online exchanges where you can buy notes. If you just want to really press the easy button, but I can tell you this, those tend to be less profitable because the professional note investors only go to those online exchanges with their notes to offer for sale if they've been unsuccessful at selling it through their regular network. But like me, for example, with our fund, when we're offering a note for sale, same thing with our dealership, when we're offering a note for sale, it's gone. I don't have time to get it out there to these online exchanges. The ones that make it to the exchange are, generally speaking, the ones that nobody wanted. So you want to vet them carefully, and you want to negotiate aggressively to try to get the very best price, because they're probably overpriced. Okay, but there are some online exchanges, and you can literally just do a Google search for note exchanges. Okay, and you'll find them. All right, I know there's one called the Watermark Exchange. There's a few others. I can't remember them off the top of my head right now, but they're out there. Okay, note brokers and note dealers. You can find those people. You can find a lot of note brokers on LinkedIn. Just go in there and do a Google search, right? You can also find note brokers on Craigslist. They're out there selling notes. You call them up and you say, "Do you own the note?" They'll say, "No, I'm brokering it for someone." So you can find them on Craigslist that way too. Note dealers, you're going to find them basically same way, right? You're going to do a Google search, and also just reach out to people on Craigslist, on LinkedIn, and so forth. Real estate investors, you find them in these real estate groups on Facebook groups that are real estate related. You can go into them and say, "Hey, anybody in here invest in notes? I buy notes." You can just make that simple post and someone will reach out to you. You just make that post once a week, something like that. You'll be surprised. People will reach out to you and say, "Yeah, I have a note for sale," or I'm looking to buy a note, and you make another connection. All right, and then the professionals. So guys, that's how you do this stuff. Now, if you want to learn how to really do this well, then what you want to do is you want to get trained. Okay, and if you want to be trained, here's what I would suggest: just head on over to the Note Investor University. And you can go to noteinvestoruniversity.com, and you can see the courses that we have there. If you want some free training, you can go to my website, which is investbrilliantly.com. I have tons of free content right there. And you can also go to my YouTube channel. Right? You can click from my website to my YouTube channel, and I have, I don't know, 120 maybe 120 or so videos there where I have talked about note investing and covered A to Z. It's just not organized into a course, but a lot of information is there, and it'll help you to understand better how note investing works. Okay, so let's see. So guys, what I want to encourage you to do is learn about notes. I think you'll like it. And if you want to really create some cash flow and financial independence for yourself, then pick up a mentor. I mean, it can be us. We do a great job of mentoring, I think. Any students on here that want to give me a testimonial? Do we do a decent job of mentoring you guys? Yes or no? I would also ask you guys to share this as well, okay? If you don't mind. Share it as well. I had a question here in the chat. Who does due diligence as good as you guys? I'm sure someone does, but I don't know who they are. We do awesome due diligence. Our due diligence is second to none. I would put it up against anybody, and I mean that. I would put it up against anybody's due diligence system. We check those notes out well. We do a really great job of due diligence. Yep. Yeah, I didn't know if I had any of our students on here who might be willing to just kind of let you guys know what we're doing and how we're doing, what they think of our program. Our program is one of the only programs out there that you can actually pay by the month, right? Our program is only $149 a month. Unlike the guy that taught me the note business, he charges $25,000 up front, okay? And that's not an unusual number. There are people who charge as much as $50,000 to teach you the note business. Now, of course, you can get people to do it for $5,000, $6,000 too, but I wanted to be able to reach more people. And I wanted to help people who couldn't afford to write a $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000 check. I wanted that person who says, "Hey, just show me how to do this stuff. I'll do the work. I'm not lazy. I just don't know what to do." And so that's what I wanted to that's what I wanted to, that's who I wanted to reach. I want to reach that person. And that's why we priced ours at only $149 a month, no contracts. You can drop out anytime. It's a university. We got classes you can take. Plus, we also give one-on-one coaching to help you make some decisions as you're coming across opportunities, because we don't want to see you make a bad decision and wind up making a mistake. And so we're here to say, oh, yeah, I wouldn't step over there. I'd step over here. Okay. That's what we're here for, to guide you along the way. Right. Ashley says, how much do I need to get started? You just pay your first month. And that's if you want to become a student. If you want to buy a note, if your question is regarding how much you need to get started investing in a note, I would say probably $30,000 would be a safe number to start with. The more you start with, the better quality note you're going to get. Okay. But 30,000 will get you in the game. You can actually start with less than that. You can buy something called a partial. And, you know, we teach that as well, how to buy partial. So you can start with $5,000 if you want to buy a partial, you know. I've seen them as low as $1,000, but it's just not really worth your time and the effort. But it is a good learning experience. So even if you only did a few $1,000, you would learn something. You'd learn the paperwork, you'd learn the process, the flow, you know, you'd learn the language, the lingo. So it's nothing wrong with starting small, but if your goal is to build up a portfolio that pays you well, then you'll want to try to have about $30,000 to start. Okay. Thank you for that question. I do appreciate it. All right, guys. So as I said, you can head on over to my website, investbrilliantly.com, and at my website, then you'll be able to get a bunch of free information about note investing. And I hope to see you there. All right. So that's all I got for you guys today. I'll see you guys next Tuesday, same time, 2:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern. God bless you all, and I'll see you all soon.